to jump into the end of the trilogy of how to make an inventory system. And I've been kind of playing around with stuff here on the side just so I can keep track of stuff, because this is the most important part. This is kind of tying everything together so that when you select something in your inventory, then it actually appears on you and gives you different attributes, benefits, things like that. So, last time we were talking about inventories. This is where we kind of ended up. We have the player, we go over, pick up our little items. So we were able to make it so you could pick up the items, go into our inventory, and you can see these items and then preview each of them. The only thing I've changed since last time you'll see there's a nice little black marker next to items when they are equipped on you, just to make it a bit easier to track. And I changed up the armor a bit. We now have this new pot armor piece, which I guess I should probably change up the positioning of that just a tiny bit better. So we have all this. We did this the past 2 times, but when we left the inventory, all that stuff we just placed on our person in the preview mode isn't on them here. So we're going to talk through how you take this and how you can actually have it appear on you in-game. All right, the first of these that we're going to do. So in order for something to appear on your character from the inventory into the real world, is we're going to create a new Boolean. So, bit of recap. How we have our system set up is we have our 5 little items here. Then we have our inventory selector logic cube. This is kind of the thing that takes care of everything. And then we have our inventory UI logic cube, which we're not really going to touch. If you're tuning in and you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, both those are available on YouTube, so make sure to check out part 1 and part 2, or follow along for the ride. So I like that idea of adding in a pot helmet. I think if I have more time, I might add that in. So the very first thing that we want to do is we take our sword right here. So very first page of our sword, this is the same with all the other items. We look for basically once this thing is just in the world, once it's been interacted with, you pick it up and you add it to your inventory. And then once it's held in the inventory, it switches to the next page. So on this next page, it's going to add itself to a few different object sets, an inventory object set, so you know what's in your inventory, a weapons object set, so you know what in your inventory is weapons. This was from part 1, where basically as soon as you preview something in your little inventory previewer, it creates a version of itself and then puts it at the correct position, lines 6 through 10, just set its position so it's like perfectly in your hand. And then when it's no longer being previewed, it destroys that thing that's being created and previewed in your hand. So the next thing we want to add in is what happens when we want it to actually appear as equipment. So you've equipped this thing in your inventory, you leave your inventory, you want it to actually be in your hand. So we look for, we have this global Boolean right here called global inventory that tells me if I am in my inventory or not. Then we put this here. So we check for when no longer global inventory, when I'm no longer viewing my global inventory. And when this sword is part of a new Boolean that we're going to call equipped. Then we're going to say that the global player is going to equip this guy right here. So it's global player is going to equip the sword. And let's just say another cool stat we can do is global player. Let's call this weapon damage. Whoops. Misspelled that, so I can thankfully use, let's retype that. And let's delete that variable that I did incorrectly. Let's delete that. Bam. Gets rid of that from my inventory. Okay, so global player weapon damage equals, let's say 20. So this weapon damage. We can go into our global player, and we have our global player brain right here. And then we can create this new thing that when you're pressing X, then your weapon, then you attack with damage, weapon damage. That's able to basically give a modifier so that your damage is based on whatever you're holding in your hand. And let's just add right here that default weapon damage, kind of your unarmed without a sword, is like, let's say 5. Okay. So here we have it says just simply once I'm no longer in my inventory, this sword is equipped, or this this sword has this boolean equipped, then the global player equips it and it gives a player weapon damage of 20. In order to actually reference this, we have to now go to our inventory selector here and also say when no longer global inventory, then we are also going to look at, for each of global player inventory, which is, if I could select correctly, is right there. We are going to then, let's see, I have it all referenced right here. So we are going to then evaluate if something is currently being previewed. If it's being previewed, that means that you're basically, you have it in your hand. So if something is being previewed, then its equipped is going to be equal to true. So that one line right there, let's see that in action. We go here, and we just added that to our sword. So we can only kind of preview this in our sword, but we select the sharp pointy thing. We then get out of here. And look at that. This thing's now attacking with this sword. The only problem is we go back into our inventory, and so he still has this equipped. That's cool. But it's adding another sword here because he's not unequipping this. And if I basically don't want to show this anymore, then he still has it equipped. So there's no way to kind of unequip this thing from this guy. Okay, so we want to fix this two-sword thing going on here. And the way that, the best way to go about doing that is, after playing around with a lot of options and going through the whole process of having a perfect inventory, I realized that creating a whole different preview mode of the player is not the easiest thing to do when actually implementing an inventory system. So if you remember from part 1 and part 2, what we were doing is when our inventory is selected, we're creating this player preview. And that's sort of the window shopping player that you're adding stuff onto, or the window dressing player you're adding stuff onto, and you're seeing how stuff looks like on them. That's all cool, but it takes a lot to transfer that over to the real world stuff. So what we're going to do is we are going to say goodbye to player preview and hello to the player, being the actual thing that you're using in this inventory selector. Okay, so first thing we're gonna look at is the global player's position, and we're going to set a vector point that we are going to call his in-world spot equals the global player position. Okay, so excising or getting rid of this player preview that we've been using the past 2 parts of inventory and replacing it just with having the actual player in the inventory. So I want to create this, I want to remember the places of my player before I grab them from the real world and put them in this little inventory selector point. I then want to deactivate their brain. No longer need this because I'm not creating a player preview. I no longer need to worry about the player previews forward, but I do need to worry about the players forward. So I'm going to set the players forward as equal to the logic cube forward. Don't have to worry about deactivating the brain of the player preview. I'm not going to be making the player collidable because that could lead to interesting things. If you exit out of the inventory in a weird way, then the player would be uncollidable in your world. So we're not going to do that. But we are going to have the player's pace be 0.1. So all that's good. We then have to set a few things once our inventory is no longer happening. We want our global player's pace to be back to equal to 1. We want our global player's position to be equal to the position of their in-world spot. We don't need to worry about destroying the global player preview. So we have all that taken care of. And then we have to go through the process of, in each of our little items here, we had set them, when you're previewing them, we'd set them relative to the player preview. So we're just going to have to set all these quickly to the player to be equal to the player's position, because the player preview is no longer a thing in this world. New content video, Biomusic is coming out on Thursday, and Battle Stations is coming out on August 13th. So you guys have 2 content packs coming out 2 weeks apart from each other. Getting back to close to the good old days of a content pack a week. Close, but still not quite as crazy as 1 per week. Congrats on the MS welcome video. I don't know what you're referring to. Thank you for congratulating me on a video. If you're congratulating me on Windows 10, thanks. I think the Windows 10 team here is doing a fantastic job. I'm really excited for tomorrow. And I can talk with chat because I'm doing pretty menial stuff right here, just replacing every player preview object variable with the player object variable to make that correct. Oh, I think you're referring to the blog post that Microsoft recently did on me. Yeah, it was really cool. Sat down and talked with someone over the Microsoft team. They profiled sort of the work I do here with you guys, making sure the community's all happy and your voices are all heard. It was a really cool opportunity. Okay. Let's go in here. Let's test this guy out. Let's pick all the stuff up. Let's go into test mode. And our player's not here because we didn't do one extra step, which actually I should have done before going into preview mode. Anyways, we have to say that so we set the player's position, then the global player's position is going to be equal to the position of this logic cube. Go back into test. All right, we have our player here. We got the stuff. They're previewing correctly on him. Let's give him that sword. Let's go out of test. So he has the sword equipped, and he has these things equipped too, actually. So looks like they're coming along. Things are starting to look pretty good, but weird things happen when we go back into test. So we still have the sword equipped even though I unequipped it in the inventory. We still have that double sword problem. The pod armor, though, looks pretty good. So things are getting close, but they're nowhere near perfect. And this is where we start to limit stuff. So the first of the things is, because we're using our player, that means at any point, so we're using our player, we're setting their pace then back down to basically 0. But what if you caught them mid-jog or in the middle of doing some sort of emote? So what I like to do is there's a few different things that you can do. And yeah, there's collisions as well because, oh, you know what? Good point. Before we get to that, actually, quick thing is when these guys are in preview mode, we want to do that this preview object is going to be, so like the preview version of this object is not going to be collidable because our player is now collidable. So we're just going to make basically preview version of all of these non-collidable. Oh, right. Call them selected, not preview. Okay, so these things are non-collidable. Then, so just a nice little limiting thing that I can do is I can make it so that when not global player is moving, then only then I can activate my inventory. So that would actually get rid of the problem. So I'm pressing while I'm moving, and I can't get into my inventory. I have to wait until I'm standing still. So therefore, my player won't be kind of mid-jog. But that's not too great for every scenario because, you know, your player would probably expect them to just, no matter what they're doing, be able to press the inventory. So you can put another limiting factor here, or not limiting, but another solution would be that we basically, whatever the player is doing, they kind of stop doing it, and then I quickly run through whatever emote they're doing, and then I toggle over to the inventory. So to do that, let's see the best way to go about doing this. So the first thing I want to do is actually deactivate the player's brain. I want to bring that over to this page and put that right here. So we can have things happen in a certain order. All right, so first the player's brain is deactivated. Then we can basically say that for one frame, so for a duration timer of, let's say, 2 frames, then the global player's pace is equal to something pretty high, like, let's say, 10. Or let's go like even to 20. And then after 2 frames, then it calls the page activate. So do this now. And so they quickly cycle through their animation. They're back to normal. So that this way, you can now make it so that kind of no matter what you're doing, mid-run, bam. And looks like this almost got it. He seems to be still doing some of his walking animation. But it's gotten to an almost perfect point. Oh, look at this. He now has 2 swords. That's great. Don't worry, we're going to fix all this. We're first kind of limiting one thing, then we're going to fix the other stuff. So that's pretty close. I think probably making it a bit better by, say, upping this to maybe 20, a pace of 25 might work even better. And yeah, it looks like this is pretty good. And hold on, let me change up the mic. Seems like we're picking up a lot of background noise, but we can easily change around the mic so it's picking up less background noise. And all right, how's that? That should sound a bit better, a bit clearer. So this is honestly, this is pretty cool. I don't think I never thought I'd want to carry 2 swords at once, but this looks pretty cool carrying 2 swords at once. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix that part now. All right. Next stage is to... Right now what's happening, just to illustrate again, what's happening basically is I have my sharp pointy thing, my sword. I'm equipping it, I'm getting out of here, I'm going back to my inventory. Nothing's telling me to unequip this thing and then put it back into the preview mode option. So what I need to do is I need to basically unequip this sword, then tell the sword that you're in preview mode, and then put it in that right place so it's like right in the guy's hand like it was before, in preview mode, and then allow me to kind of toggle that on and off. So to do that, we go to our inventory selector, go down here, and we look at, for each of global inventory, we add something new to here. We look for basically, once we're cycling through everything in our inventory, what we want to look for is, let's just make sure that I do the exact right code here. If it has this equipped boolean that's active, which means that you're currently equipping it, then you want it to no longer be that. So when it equipped, then we actually want to that item up. I am going to actually be publishing this level a bit later on. I am actually, there are a few content packs I'm using in here, so I want to call out those content packs before I publish. Although, it's pretty awesome that now, if you didn't know, Nomadic Warrior, Keys to the Castle, Clovers and Gold, Gifts and Lights, and the Episode 1 of Champions Quest are all free for everybody, starting as of yesterday, or as of midnight UTC. So I can now use Keys to the Castle stuff in core content, which is kind of cool. Maybe I won't use that this time around, but good to know that I can start doing that now. Okay, so what I've done is I have basically said that when this thing is equipped, this is a boolean that kind of tells that this thing has been equipped in the world. Then as soon as I get onto this page, as soon as it's activated, I'm actually going to re-pick it up. And then I actually found that if I, on the exact same frame, if I unequip something and then put something onto a player, they're still kind of getting out of their equip emote. So I want to wait for, I found basically just wait for 2 frames. So countdown timer of 2 in frames. And I want to say start at 2 for this. Then let's just go over to my little reference cube here. And what I want to do is, so after a countdown timer of 2 frames, then I want to look through everything in my inventory again. So for each of everything in this global object set called inventory, then also look for if it's equipped, again, because this equip boolean is still activated, even if you technically don't equip it anymore, you've re-picked it up, it's back in your inventory. This equip boolean is still running though. So if it's equipped, then I want to say, okay, now I want you to preview. And if you remember, preview, that boolean sets that you're actually previewing that item in your inventory. And I also want to just make it so that this camera gizmo, the viewer of the inventory, I want to activate that after 2 frames as well. That way I don't get to my gallery and have a 2-frame quote-unquote glitch of where things aren't correctly on the player or not. All right, so I've done that. And I think that should be enough for me to go back and test. So let's get into our inventory. We have our character again. Let's equip this bucket head and the sharp pointy thing. Let's get out of here. So he has the bucket head and sharp pointy thing. Now, I haven't set the code on the bucket head to be correct, but I have the sharp pointy thing. This should go back into the inventory again. And so it's correctly showing the sharp pointy thing, and now I can remove it and add it again. Go back out of here, I have it equipped. Great, let's go back into the inventory. Let's unequip it, go back out, and he still has it equipped. So I haven't fully solved the problem yet. What I've done is I've made it so that I no longer can create two swords in my inventory. That part's good, so I don't have two swords stacking on top of each other, but this guy still has this thing equipped. So we need to fix that now. All right, review time. Let's see. I didn't take the right code over from here. So it looks like the issue is for everything that's in my inventory, whether I'm viewing stuff or not, this preview boolean is going to continue onwards. So I want to actually set preview to off for everything in my inventory once I leave my inventory. And I think that should solve my issue of, let's go in here. Let's get my sharp pointy thing. Let's go back in here. Let's remove my sharp pointy thing. So that doesn't solve that issue, but that does solve, let's get my bucket head here. And I'm not wearing my bucket head, which is actually a good thing because I haven't set that up in the bucket head yet. Okay. So I'm just referencing some code back here, and right, the last step. Okay. So the last step is basically this. So going back to whatever object you're equipping in your inventory, you want to look at that when that object is no longer being previewed, and you're currently in your inventory choosing to preview things on and off, then equipped equals false with that item. Equipped is basically the thing that says if you're holding on to something in the real world or not. So we had nothing previously setting equipped to false. And this is the thing that finally sets equipped to false. So we go into test. Go here, let's select our sharp pointy thing again. Let's go out in the world, we have this thing equipped, looks great. Go back in here. We still have the thing equipped here. Let's remove it. Let's go back in to the real world, and I'm not holding it anymore. So all you needed to do was just set equipped to equal to false for that. Let's equip it again. Question for Project Spark, will this game be available for Windows 10? Yes. Starting tomorrow, you'll be able to download this on Windows 10. Actually, technically starting already. For anyone who's in the early preview program, you've been able to install it for a while. Works fine, works perfectly on Windows 10. So our sharp pointy thing is working correctly. We can go into our inventory and easily set to turn it on and off. And it looks great. Another thing I neglected to do, which was a nice feature of my little previewer, was the fact that I could, using right stick, turn around my player. So I just didn't set this to player. Now I can turn around my player with right stick while I'm in this mode, take a good look at them. So The reason I chose the sword as the first thing, because this is kind of a easy thing to understand how to equip to my player. So yay, I get to turn around and view this sword in all of its glory. And I get out of here and bam. So the sword, this was the easy code. When the sword is equipped, to equip in the real world, all I need to say is global player, equip me. That's a piece of cake. When it comes to actually putting armor on you, that gets a bit harder. So let's choose the bucket head. And let's copy over some code from here. So we got our bucket head right here. First thing we want to do is just copy over the code that basically sets that when this thing's no longer previewed, its Boolean equipped is equal to false. We're then going to go down, and I'm going to just copy the same code of when I'm no longer in my inventory, what this Boolean equipped will actually do for the bucket head. So I'm going to copy that from the sword, bring it over to the bucket head. Let's go all the way down to the bottom of the second page. And so I can also set, I want this to affect my global player's defense. So let's create, I think, do I already have defense? Yeah. All right, so I have this number variable defense, and I'm going to say this, we're in the bucket head. All right, so a bucket helmet probably doesn't give much in the vein of defense, so maybe this is going to increase my defense by 5. So all of this stuff we all set in part 1 of how to make an inventory. This is all of like how you set the position of an object to appear previewed nicely on a player. And we are just going to copy all of this stuff for what happens when it's equipped. Very first line is you want to make the player attach it. But instead of selected, the global player is just going to attach this item. So you first want the player to attach it so it's actually out of the inventory, it's attached in the real world. That's the most important thing. This item is currently in your player's inventory, which isn't really in the real world, so attaching it brings it into the real world. Next thing you want to do is set its position. So it's attached to you, then its position is going to be equal to the head position of your player plus world up multiplied by tiny bit plus forward multiplied by tiny bit. These are both just correct the bucket head's placement a bit. And then we want to correctly set the directional vectors of the object. To make sure that up on this object, like we want this bucket to be upside down, so that means that down is actually going to be equal to the player's up, so that makes it upside down, and then also the forward-facing point of this helmet is going to be equal to the player's forward-facing point. And that should about do that. And let's go in here. All right. So let's see, we got the bucket head. Probably can be cleaned up a bit. Probably can change up that position a tiny bit to make it a bit better, but it's pretty close. That's the nice thing is in the system, you can really tweak the exact positioning to get it perfect how you want. Okay, so let's get out of here. And I got my bucket head equipped. It is properly equipped to my character. He's running around with a bucket on his head. Go back in, and he has it equipped still. So I go here and I select it and I can turn it off. Go back out. Bucket head is no longer on him. So go back and now he has a bucket head and it's perfect. And you kind of just do this exact same thing with every single other item here. So I'm going to rapidly go through this because it's basically going to be a lot of copying and pasting as I go through just the 3 other items. and just kind of copy and paste exactly what I did with the bucket head, but with these other armor type items. And while I'm doing that, do people have questions in chat? I know we announced a lot of stuff yesterday. I know we announced a lot of that. So to answer some questions you guys might have, everyone who is eligible for our core creator gift, which is if you have spent more than 4,000 tokens in-game, spent more than 150 hours in Project Spark, or received 10,000 downloads of all of your UGC total. If you've fulfilled one of those, tomorrow you will be granted 3 months of Spark Premium and 10 upload slots. If you don't have it appear in your account within 24 hours and you think you're eligible for one of those 3 categories, send us a support ticket and we'll make sure that we'll double check, make sure that there might have been some, say, oversight or may have been missed from the list. So, but yeah, look forward to that. We're giving a lot of people are going to be getting premium tomorrow. A lot of people, more people I think than ever before. So it's going to be pretty exciting stuff. All right, so what we're doing here is we are copying over this stuff. And so this is the armor piece, so we're doing it to the back side. Yeah, Wolf Venom, you have 190 hours on the Xbox One. You will be A-okay. That is over the quota, so you're good. So then I set the position. And I just set up to be equal to player up, so on and so forth. Good question from chat. In the new packs, so the new bundles, which are Year 1 Edition, the Creator Series, Realm Series, Galaxy Series, what happens if you already own some of the content in that pack or in that bundle? So currently we don't have a way in our marketplace to be able to dynamically discount content for you, meaning that it's going to show up at the same price whether you have nothing in the content pack or nothing in the bundle, or you have half of all the items in the bundle. So just do your own cost analysis. Make sure to do your own research. With these packs, for instance, the Year 1 Edition is an 85% savings. So most likely, because it's 85% savings, unless you own almost all the content, you're better off getting that than purchasing each pack independently. Where can you see your hours on Project Spark? If you are on Xbox One, you can go to your friends list, go to the click on Project Spark, go to the leaderboard section, and you'll see how many hours you have. I check that daily because I'm in a competition with Spark Thomas on who has the most hours on their Xbox, and I'm beating him currently. But he might overtake me soon. Okay, so this is all good. We have our last item right here. And this should do it. I think that's all correct. Okay, so let's go in here, let's just test. Make sure that all my 5 items are perfect. So we got our chest plate. Let's choose our chest plate, our eagle helmet, and our sharp pointy thing. bam, we have. So the only thing though is you'll notice a chest plate. So in Project Spark, when you equip something, then the player's profile changes a bit. They kind of stand a bit sideways. They have like the sword behind them, ready to strike. So that means that the armor piece is slightly out of position, right like that. So a nice thing with this setup, and the main reason why I decided that the best way to go about doing this is to basically set up this equip boolean inside of each individual object so you can really play around with its exact positioning, is within here. Yeah, we're at the rusty chest plate. That's the correct place. We can add something really cool here where we just say that when the global player has equipment, then I can tell this item to turn just like the player's body kind of turns. So I can just say turn at angle like 55 maybe. Let's go back in and test. Pick all this stuff up, get my rusty chest plate going, get my sharp pointy thing, and then looks like it actually rotated in the wrong direction. But the point is it did rotate. So you can actually just set, when your player has something equipped, then you actually change around the positioning of this thing a tiny bit. Maybe I want to go for yaw, something like 35. Whoa! Master Gamer has 3,457 hours played in Project Spark. That beats me. You definitely have more than me. I think that's actually even more than another super user, Project Sparker. It's not the highest amount of hours though someone has spent in Project Spark. The highest amount of hours someone has spent in Project Spark, it's over 5,000, and it's pretty crazy. So he has this, I could play around this more, but he has the positioning. This is getting pretty close to good. So let's see, we got 5 minutes left. And yeah, Charlotte in chat brought up much more complex, better vector math you can do to perfectly set the position of this item. So I could set it to a cross between two vector positions of the chest forward and the head forward. I won't get into that, mainly because I guess I'm not in a math state right now. And probably if I try and get that vector math proper, it's gonna bring me over the 5 minutes. So instead, these last 5 minutes, what I'm gonna do is something that I just started doing on these, but I actually didn't finish, is talking about like defense and attack and things like that, and allowing you to kind of increase, decrease your defense and attack and other fun stuff here. So defense, what I'll do here is, so we need another condition here. When this thing is no longer equipped, then we're going to bring the global player's defense back down by 5. So what this does is this kind of starts to set up this defense number variable where I can set this independently in each item. And what I think I'll do is I just think, right, I have the player brain over here now. So I can just say that let's do health. Oh wait, max health. All right, we're going to say that max health is equal to, so I think the base health of this guy is 100.
I know, and I had said just hold off.
Plus defense. And so that is going to now make it so that this adds basically five hit points onto my health. You can have something else. You can instead have this defense modifier that makes it so that when attacks hit you, they do less damage. This is probably the easiest thing to wrap your head around. But so we're in the chest plate right now, so maybe this will give you, this is a chest plate, so this is probably going to give you like 50 extra health.
Well, we don't know that they wouldn't accept it.
And then you can kind of set that within each of your different items. So Buckethead we got taken care of, maybe, so pot armor, let's just say, for instance, this pot armor is, oh wait, I need to copy a line from here. Let's say this pot armor is like super rare pot armor. So that will increase your player's defense by 100. And then this eagle helmet, so the Buckethead gave me 5 extra health. So this eagle helmet, let's say this would give me something like 15 extra health. So when no longer equipped, and the reason we do this, when no longer equipped, then we decrement global player's defense by that amount, is because otherwise you could just spam continuing to add the thing and it'll continue to add health and never take away that extra health it's giving you. So now you have that, so you have this weapon that actually increases your weapon damage, and when these are equipped, they actually increase your health. Last thing, let's add in a goblin here. So we can attack this guy. So, attack him here. Took me 6 hits to attack him. Let's restart. Let's pick all this up. Now, let's say, all right, sharp pointy thing. Let's do this. Let's go in here. Let's attack him. Bam, bam. 2 hits, he's done. So just like that, this guy is now in charge. Took him 6 hits beforehand, now it takes him just 2 to take on that goblin. Now I can take this thing off and he's back down to just, 5 wimpy points of damage. And I'm kind of curious, actually. One thing I didn't anticipate, didn't test, but it would be cool to try. What happens when this goblin's running at you? And I think the goblin will appear in this frame eventually. But the reason I bring that up is the cool thing is even mid-combat, this inventory technically would make it so that the goblin or whatever is attacking you won't continue to injure you while you're in this inventory system. You don't have to worry about pausing the world or anything. You will no longer be there, so they can't attack anything. Go here, and then he's right on top of me, so just go launch right back into attack. Of course, you can set world pace to 0 if you want to. There's a lot of other things you can do here to really get this precise. I'm just going to delete all of this old reference stuff. This hopefully gives you the basic building blocks of how you can make your own inventory system. I kept it pretty simple with just 5 items, however many you want. And the actual inventory viewer, you probably want to have somewhere different than, right next to where you are. But this plus part 1 and part 2 should give you every single thing you need to pick up stuff that gets added to your inventory, go into your inventory, get a view of that stuff, place it on your head, place it on your body, equip it, get out of here, have that actually affect what you do in your world. Full-fledged inventory system, point A to point B to point C to point awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and change out a few things here. These are, I think I was smart enough, and I made this the nomadic sword. Or isn't that called that? The ancient... I'll have to look that up, but I think that's the nomadic sword, which is now free. This is part of free content. These two, though, are part of Kode Archives, so I will just switch these out for other items you can place on you. And I will be sharing this out so anybody can look through all this code, take what they want to create their own inventory systems, and make sure to watch parts 1 and part 2 on YouTube. And hopefully you guys enjoyed going through this inventory tutorial. I think while we've been going through this, we've gotten a lot of other great requests for education streams, so we already have a nice lineup of cool stuff to hit on for you guys for all the next few weeks.
Create your game as you play? Any Spark can do it. Spark, activate the portals.